Here you go. You say you're lonely, kid, but God knows so am I. 8,000 miles apart, look into the... Mama, can you teach me how to sew? Why, sure I can, sweetie. My, this is an absolutely perfect cross-stitch for a 6-year-old.
Oh, Jerry, this is some of the finest quilt work I've ever seen.
This is fantastic, kid. You're gonna be a big star. You're gonna go places.
My God, the boy just has a natural talent for it.
Hey, bro, you want to go play some football?
Sorry, man. I really gotta concentrate on my sewing right now.
The colors! The colors! My God, the colors!
Here we are at the World Championship Sewing Competition of 2007.
Jerry Allen picks up the needle. He's going to make a cross-stitch thread. And oh my God! The humanity! The humanity! On tonight's news at 10, 12 killed in tragic sewing accident.
It was just one little accident, kid. You gotta get back in the game. The world needs those fingers.
I'm sorry. I made a promise to myself that I would never again pick up another needle for professional use. I don't have it in me.
Hey, Jerry.
Hey, buddy.
What you doing there?
Sewing. Clearly.
I didn't even know you sewed.
I was a sewer once.
Alrighty, you want to play Roll Through the Ages?
Oh, thank God, yes.
Boardgasm! Boardgasm! Boardgasm!
Roll Through the Ages is a game for 1 to 4 players. Never actually played the solitaire version, but if you want, this game can actually be played by yourself. You build up a collective score and then try to defeat it each time. But for the majority of us, the game goes as follows. You each are given these very nice wooden boards and a set of pegs that you use to actually mark the various items that are on top of them. And you start off with 3 also very nice wooden dice, and you give them a roll, and the following things occur. In the game, if you ever get a skull, you actually will set that particular dice aside, and then you look at what's on the rest of them. If you don't want what you have, or say you want some of them, you're like, well, I do want this. You set that aside. That's going to stay like that. Don't want that, though. Give it another roll. If it's a skull, set it aside yet again. But let's say it wasn't, and you got something else, but you're like, yeah, I still don't want that. Okay, I'll give it one more roll. Whatever it is, once again, skulls set aside. Something else, though, on your third reroll, that is what you were stuck with. And you look at what you've either set aside or what you rolled on your final roll, and you will use them on various parts of the board to help you do different things. The game comes with this, thankfully, mammoth book of player sheets, and the sheets actually represent a little city or civilization, your choice, whichever you prefer. And on it actually is all this different stuff. Like there are player aids to the right that tell you, okay, what does each spot mean on dice, what happens if you roll so many skulls, and then a score box at the bottom. But then there are these other parts, like you have your amount of cities up here. You'll notice that the 3 automatically start circled, and then there are other ones. You can actually buy more cities. So I guess each sheet isn't one city. It is more like a little civilization or an empire or something like that. But you can actually get more cities down the road, and the dice technically represent your cities. So if you start off with 3, but down the road you add more, like, okay, you'll roll 4 cities per turn, which can be both good and bad, as I'll explain in a moment. Now, there are the sections on the board, developments and monuments. Developments are kind of like game-breaking effects, kind kind of like in Kingsburg or the buildings in Puerto Rico. Basically, as you buy them, they allow you to break certain rules of the game and make things easier, gain more food, or when this happens, you don't need to lose this. And as you buy them, your city gets more and more advanced. It becomes easier to control whatever it is you roll on the dice. Like, oh, okay, I don't want this, and I'll do this thanks to this particular development I have. And then there are monuments, which are just outright items that help you get points. Turn order will go as such. After you've rolled everything, the first thing you'll do is any of them that have food on them, you'll actually collect food, and that's what this particular track is on the board for. This is actually your amount of food. So this icon means food, so let's say, okay, I could take one or the other. Anything with a slash means one or the other. But I need food, so I'll take 2 food. I also had this particular one at the end, which turned out to be 3 more food. So okay, so we'll add in 3 more food. Once you've done that, you actually will feed your cities and resolve any disasters. So feed your cities goes right back to the food chart. So let's say it's at the start of the game, you only have 3 dice, you haven't earned any more. Okay, I have 5 food, 1 food per dice per turn, so I feed my cities with 3. 1, 2, 3, and that's all I got left. And then you resolve disasters, which is actually what the skulls do. Now you'll actually see this handy chart on the right side that has disasters labeled. If you've rolled 1 skull, well, first off, let's say a non-skull disaster would be you have no food whatsoever, your cities starve. Okay, you lose 1 point per city, and you actually have another chart down here, so that every time you lose a point to a disaster, you just mark it. So, oh, I lost 3 points due to disasters or famine or whatever, 3 boxes, and at the end you'll add that up under the subtotal and take those points away. But back to the disaster chart, if you rolled 1 skull, well, nothing will happen. Okay, so not bad. You roll 2, drought, which is actually just lose 2 points. 3 skulls is actually one of the few times you can affect other people's boards. So if you roll 3 skulls, pestilence occurs, and 3 points are lost to your opponents, not to you. 4 skulls, lose 4 points, and then 5 or more, actually you lose all your goods. And the goods are actually everything else on this board, like wood, stone, I can't actually remember the names of the rest of them off the top of my head, but they all make sense. So after you've resolved any disasters, i.e. lose points, you then build cities and monuments, and those correspond to any dice that have these little workers on them, as you can see here. These workers, or the one or the other one, let's say you chose workers, 3 from this dice, 2 from this one, they actually correspond to boxes on your chart. So let's say you wanted to build monuments, which just get you points. So if you fill in all of a monument, you will get whatever is the left number on the bottom. If you're the first. If someone else has already built it and you proceed to build it again, you actually will get the second amount of points. So let's say you build the temple. You're the first one to do it, you would get 4. If you're the second, you would get 2. But once you've filled in all the box, circle whichever score you've gotten, and you'll add it in at the end. Or you can actually fill in the cities at the top, which on your next turn will allow you to roll more dice, but will also cost you more food, so it's kind of a give and take. Next, you may buy a development if you want. So you'll notice to the left of the developments there actually is a cost of 10, 15. The better the development is, in most people's opinions, the more it costs. So goods are actually what you can use to buy developments. So let's say you rolled so many types of goods and you move the goods up and you look and you see, okay, well, I have 20 types of goods. I could buy something that is 20 or less. So you look and you're like, oh, I want this because it will allow me to, I don't suffer from pestilence even if anyone else rolls it. So you'd actually take the little pegs and go, okay, well, let's see, I have this much of this much of this, and I'd be like, oh, well, I have 9 of this, so there's 9, that's gone, and I had 12 of this one, so that's gone as well. And then you mark it off, and on your following turn, you will actually benefit from that. And then the final thing you do at the very end of your turn is you discard goods in excess of 6. So what that means is, although there are numbers next to each peg spot that represent an amount, technically each peg hole is a good. So like this here, when buying developments would count as 12, but as for the end of your particular turn, it counts as only 3. So let's say this was the setup of your board. So this would actually be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If any of these other ones are moved out, that would also count as 1 as well for each peg it's passed. So since you can never have more than 6 goods on a turn, you actually need to discard down. So you could go to that, and boom, you'd only have 6 goods, and you'd be all set for the turn. And there are developments that allow you to actually save more goods, or you may have, you don't discard till the end of your turn, so it's possible you could have like 12 types of goods, but you spend them on a development, meaning you wouldn't have to discard at the end of your turn. The game ends when one of 2 things happens, or if they happen on the same round. Either collectively, every monument has been built at least once. So if, and that doesn't mean by one person, when I say collectively, I mean if they've been built at least once amongst all the players, the round will end at the end of the turn of whoever was last that round, or someone builds 5 developments. So if you build your 5th development, you've essentially stated that that is the end of that round. Everyone adds up their points, and they subtract any from disasters. Whoever has the most points is the winner.
Hi, and welcome to Component Breakdown with me, Jerry. Designers, take note. This is how you do a simple game. This entire, the entire structure of this game, the entire integrity is well made. Now, a little bit of history. It was designed as a pub game, meaning that it's designed to take spills, it's designed to take overlaps, and that requires it to be made of wood. So that is one of the key reasons why this game has such a higher quality. But still, it's available for a fantastic price, and it nails it in terms of components. It keeps things simple. We've got 4 wooden boards that come with it. 4 wooden boards that have just paint here to let you know what's happening. So they keep it simple in that capacity. Roll Through the Ages is stamped across the top. Otherwise, this is just a plank of wood that they drilled some holes in for pegs. The dice, well designed, made of decent quality wood. You can actually see the grains in there. And with little symbols painted across the top. They kept it simple, but at the same time, the overlying quality is fantastic. And then the third part is this huge board, and this is what we use to keep track of what you use to know the full game. And there are hundreds of sheets here. Now this pales in comparison to a lot of other games where they'll give you, I don't know, like Yahtzee we talked about earlier. Yahtzee will give you maybe 50 sheets if you're lucky in order to keep track. And there's a lot of games out there in the Euro game section that still run that competing philosophy. You know, give them just enough, and if they need, they can order more or make their own. But this game says, oh no, I'm going to give you a 200 book of huge things. Awesome. Oh, and they're double-sided, of course. So these 3 components make up the vast majority of this game. The only thing. We've got these little pegs here. They're not fantastic, but they're basic. All in all, this is how you do a cheap game in terms of components and in terms of basic simplicity. The game is affordable, meaning that they found a way to keep the components low in price. They also found a way to make it still quality while engaging. Now, there's not a lot of elaborate graphic design work here. I mean, I'm not looking at these thinking, oh wow, they use simple wood burning in order to burn the actual symbols into the wood. But it creates a fantastic experience. And this pub game is one of the best components that we've ever reviewed, just because it does so solidly with everything. Everything is solid. Everything is permanent. This game will last 20 years. This game, we will break it out in 20 years, and we may need to get some new pads, but besides that, everything else is going to be solid here. So in terms of components, Roll Through the Ages is one of my favorite and probably one of the best you will come across. It's just fantastically built. It's simple, but it's genius in its little ingenuities. And its full wood design is absolutely wonderful. So people tend to think I'm a bit critical, and I can be. But Roll Through the Ages nails it, and it deserves nearly a perfect score. There's a couple things that could be improved, but we'll not get into it. The main thing is, it's like a 9 out of 10 for components here. It's just solid. So, designers take note, because this is the kind of stuff we want to see. Well designed, full woodworking, it looks good. Graphic design is important, but the solidness of the parts is important too. In fact, it can even be more important than graphic design, because I'll take a solidly built game over a game that looks pretty any day. So this, solid, Roll Through the Ages, awesome. When I was a younger man in the old country, the eyes of God were softer than my heart was free. I remember now the older men who drink coffee and told me just to slow down, son, and live to be free. Just lay your stress down by the road and be happy. Roll through the ages, through every door you see. Roll through the ages, take our God's love with thee. Roll through the ages, through every door you see. Roll through the ages, take our God's love with thee. Roll through the ages, through every door you see. Roll through the ages, take our God's love with thee. Roll through the ages, through every door you see. Roll through the ages, take our God's love with thee.
So, roll through the ages.
Roll through the ages.
Roll through the ages.
Rockin' and rollin'.
Through the ages.
Through the ages.
And also a game I consistently confuse with, isn't there a game Through the...
There is Through the Ages.
Yeah, Through the Ages, which is a much more elaborate...
a full-on sim building game.
Yeah, exactly.
Civilization
building game.
Yeah.
And the problem is that Roll Through the Ages can easily be conceived as a civilization building game, because it's a microcosm version, but it is a civilization building game. So a lot of times people are like, you want to play Roll Through the Ages? And I'm like, yeah, I want to play Through the Ages. I'll commit to a 3-hour civvy game, and then
boom, 30 minutes.
and then they break out the little wooden tokens. So Roll Through the Ages.
Roll Through the Ages.
What do you get it?
Roll Through the Ages, I give a 7 out of 10. And for those out there who might be thinking I'm saying that's average, I'm not. 7 out of 10 to me is a good score. I do have my only main issue with the game that I don't rate, because I don't rate it higher, is due to the simple fact that there is a lack of player interaction. I mean, for the most part, aside from a couple items in the game, all you're doing really is just rolling dice and working on your own little sheet. There's a variant that I actually do rate higher, Roll Through the Late Bronze Age, I believe it's called. And I played that a few times, and I actually would give that a better score, but that's a whole nother review altogether.
That's a variant, that's what?
It's a variant that the creator actually made, and he published online for free, and you can download it. And he changed some things, added a little bit more items that allow for player interaction, and just better options overall. The game itself, I feel, it's almost like a like version 2.0 of this game.
Yeah.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe we'll talk about that in a different video.
I would love to review variations.
Yeah,
right?
Start doing mini variations on the side. Future! Anyway, so 7 out of 10. I do enjoy the game quite a bit. It's fun, it's quick, it's simple once you get used to it. So, it's a decent game, so 7 out of 10.
Well, now comes the very rare event where I will rate a game higher than Dan. I'm picky. I just am. I can't help it. I'm picky in terms of board games because I have this great mountain in my mind that needs to be climbed for a board game, and very few come short of it. Or very few, are able to climb the mountain. But I actually really like Roll Through the Ages. It is one of the best quick games that I play. Now, I have, Dan is completely right with the lack of player interaction. There really is nothing. Players just sit there and roll their little dice, and occasionally they're like, what are you doing? Well, I'm building a pyramid. And you're like, well, I wanted to build the pyramid. Like, that's the only thing that really happens. But, I've
infected you, minus so many points. Like, oh, All right, moving on.
Yeah, that part does suck. Somebody else screws up and you pay the price. So Roll Through the Ages it does not inspire interaction, and I have rated games badly because they don't. Say, for example, Carcassonne comes to mind. I don't think Carcassonne, and I trashed that game. But Roll Through the Ages is such a quick little thing, and the wooden boards, it's all very, very. It's a pub game, is what it is.
And the designer said he designed it as something that could be played in a pub.
Yeah, or Americans. It's a bar game, and it's perfect for that. It's little wooden boards. I mean, I could see this thing in Cracker Barrel. Like, I could see a bunch of Roll Through the Ages just sitting in Cracker Barrel, waiting for people to roll dice. It's fun. It's quick. It gets the point across, and it's really easy to understand. So Roll Through the Ages is a great appetizer game. Like, play it before a big one, or if you play it, if you've got
game.
Yeah, you've got between
Past
big
30
sessions.
minutes.
Even better when you're at a restaurant, or and yes, we do play board games at Denny's America.
It's 3 a.m.
Yeah, we do. So if you're at a Denny's, bust this thing out. I mean, don't get me wrong, we played War on Terror at a Denny's for 6 hours before, so we will take it far. But Roll Through the Ages is a great game if you don't want to look like a weirdo. Just little wooden boards and little pegs. Everything's very easy. So for that great effect, I actually really enjoy this game. And I always like civilization builders. I always think they're a fun concept. And this one really does take it and does quite a bit with it. So Roll Through the Ages, I give a solid 8 out of 10. Which averages to a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
But with the variation, which is available...
You can get it free online, Board Game Geek.
Yeah, Board Game Geek with the variation, you could Dan might boost his score, and so it could go even higher. But check out the variation if you actually get Roll Through the Ages after you've played it and to the point of boredom. Then try it out and see what it is. So,
Well, there you go.
there we go, Roll Through the Ages. Thank you, America.
Thank you.
We love you.
We love you. If you're ever in Western Michigan at a Denny's at 3 a.m., maybe you'll see us.
I would love that.
Well, that would be kind of awesome and creepy at the same time.
Are you the Boardgasm guys? We are.
We are.
Come to the
Come
booth.
to the
Have
booth.
a Diet Coke. Play some games.
Good night, America.